They moved in silence, lurking in the shadows, watching you from a distance, but you weren't the one being watched. They were. Their own surveillance, their own attempts to gather information, twist narratives, and forge a case against you, was recording them the entire time. Security cameras, audio logs, hidden messages, deleted files that never truly disappeared. Every move they made was documented. And the first crack in their plan? It wasn't you finding out. It was them realizing they got caught. That moment, when they went to retrieve the footage, but instead they saw themselves. Their own words, their own voices, their own plans laid out in perfect, irrefutable clarity. They wanted a trail of breadcrumbs leading to you. But instead, they left a roadmap to their own deception. They were careless, convinced they were the puppet masters, the unseen force pulling strings behind the scenes. But digital footprints never disappear. The timestamps betray them. The audio clips capture what they never wanted repeated. The data logs show exactly who was moving against you and when. And when they saw it, panic. Because this was not just evidence. This was proof. Proof that they were never as powerful as they thought. Proof that their secrets were never really hidden. Proof that the very tools they used to spy on you had been silently working against them the entire time. They tried to cover their tracks. They tried to erase, delete, backpedal. But the damage was done, and the first blow had landed. They were ready to celebrate. They gathered with confidence, certain their plan had worked. In their minds, they had already won. Their whispers had spread. Their lies had been planted. They thought the evidence was stacked in their favor. They thought you were finished, but they had no idea what was waiting for them. The screen lit up, the footage played, and in an instant, everything changed, because the video did not reveal what they expected. It did not show you as the villain. It did not validate their twisted accusations. Instead, it exposed them. Every lie, every betrayal, every carefully orchestrated move they made behind closed doors, caught in perfect, undeniable clarity. The silence in the room was deafening. Their bodies stiffened, their expressions twisted from confidence to shock. Eyes widened, throats tightened, panic settled in deep. Some tried to deny it, some tried to downplay it, but the evidence spoke louder than any excuse. Their voices, their actions, their deception, displayed for everyone to see. And there was no way out. They felt the weight of exposure crash down on them all at once. Their hands turned clammy, their hearts pounded. Because there is a specific kind of horror that comes with being caught in 4K. They thought they were untouchable. Now, they stood frozen, watching their own downfall play out on screen. The room felt smaller, the air felt heavier. You didn't say a word. You just watched them break under the truth. The same cameras they used to spy, manipulate, and deceive had turned against them. The same footage they planned to use as their weapon became their execution. They could not delete it. They could not deny it. They could not unsee what was now burned into reality. Everything they built collapsed. The lies they told, disproven, the alliances they formed, shaken, the power they thought they had, stripped away. Because when the truth stands next to deception, only one survives. And in that moment, they understood. This was never your downfall. This was theirs. They scrambled. Their hands shook as they reached for their devices, typing faster than they ever had before. Delete, delete, delete. They thought if they moved quickly, if they erased every message, every log, every file, this nightmare would disappear. But they were too late. Digital records don't lie. No matter how many times they pressed delete, no matter how many files they tried to scrub from existence, the truth had already been etched into reality. And they left fingerprints on everything. The emails they thought were gone, still recoverable. The tech threads they desperately wiped, stored in backups. The calls they made in secrecy, logged with timestamps they couldn't alter. They covered their tracks in panic, but panic makes mistakes. They thought they could manipulate the digital world the way they manipulated people. But technology doesn't forget. The very tools they used to spy on you, deceive you, and orchestrate their plan turned against them. Every attempted cover-up, every last-ditch effort to rewrite history, every frantic deletion, documented, logged, traceable. They knew it was over the moment they realized they left evidence of their own destruction. The security cameras, the cloud storage, the hidden folders they thought no one would find. It was all still there. Waiting, they tried everything. They reset devices, they wiped hard drives, they even attempted to fabricate new files to rewrite their narrative. But no matter what they did, the truth resurfaced. The data wasn't just on one phone, it wasn't just in one location. It had already spread, and the more they tried to fight it, the deeper they sank. They were so confident before, they thought they could outsmart reality. But reality doesn't bend for liars. They underestimated how fast truth moves once it's unleashed. And now they are watching their own mistakes resurface like ghosts they can't outrun. Emails forwarded, screenshots saved, voicemails replayed. Every deception they crafted is now evidence against them, and they are the ones who put it there. The truth was always going to win, but what makes this even worse? They were the ones who handed it over. Their own hands sealed their fate. You never had to do a thing. You knew this moment would come. It always does. When deception collapses, it never falls quietly. They thought they built an unshakable alliance, a network of people who would lie, cover for them, and defend them at all costs. But loyalty built on lies is loyalty that will always break. The cracks are spreading, the whispers are growing. The very people who once stood beside them, protecting their secrets, cleaning up their messes, are jumping ship. Not out of morality, not because they suddenly grew a conscience, but because they feel the collapse coming. And no one wants to go down with them. You see it happening in real time, the way their allies hesitate before speaking, the way once loyal friends step back, distancing themselves, the way people who once took their side are now leaking details behind closed doors. Because when things get dangerous, self-preservation kicks in, and no one wants to be standing next to a sinking ship when it goes under. They used to feel powerful, surrounded by people who would do anything for them. But power is only power when people still believe in it. Their name isn't a shield anymore. It's a liability. You can feel the tension. The paranoia setting in. They don't know who to trust. They don't know who's talking. They don't know where the next betrayal will come from. But they know it's coming. You don't have to do anything, because they are watching their own kingdom turn against them. Their allies are becoming informants. Their friends are becoming their worst fear. And every person they once controlled is now a threat. They thought they had everyone under their thumb, but they forgot one thing. Fear breeds betrayal. They thought they would find something incriminating, something shameful, some buried secret that would finally give them the upper hand over you. So they dug, through records, through files, through whispers from people who barely knew you. They searched for a flaw, a weakness, anything they could twist into a scandal. But instead of finding your downfall, they uncovered your strength. Everywhere they looked, they saw resilience, proof of your consistency, evidence of your integrity, a track record that spoke for itself. The more they searched, the more frustrated they became, because there was nothing to use against you. No scandals, no deception, no hidden past to exploit, just the undeniable truth of who you are. And while they were busy picking apart your history, their own skeleton started falling out of the closet. One by one, their financial fraud, their backdoor deals, the hidden betrayals they thought would never see the light of day. They tried to expose you. Instead, they exposed themselves, because you were never the one with something to hide. They were, and the deeper they dug into your life, the more their own deception unraveled. They thought they could twist the narrative. Instead, they wrote their own downfall. They assumed their power was in what they could uncover about you. But real power is in having nothing to hide. And now the same investigation they started has turned against them. They wanted to build a case against you. They are the ones being questioned. You never had to defend yourself, because the truth was always your greatest defense, and now it's their biggest fear. They say the truth will set you free, but let's be real, most people aren't ready for it. For the chosen ones in the Obsidian inner order, it's not just about truth, it's the full cosmic transmission. No sugarcoating, no illusions, just raw, unfiltered awakening. Imagine this. Weekly group calls with over 450 chosen ones, recorded, so you can tap in anytime. Our private Discord, it's not just busy, it's electric. Ideas spark, breakthroughs happen. That chosen energy, unstoppable. And for those seeking something deeper, enter Chosen Singles, where soul connections are written in the stars, not in tired pickup lines. And for the seekers of higher knowledge, unlock modern manifestation mechanics, our exclusive grimoire, with 3 powerful chapters available to members. Transform your space into a magnet for abundance, harness spellcraft for real-world manifestation, and tap into magical forces to accelerate your goals. Plus, gain access to uncensored interviews with real targeted individuals and video specials so raw, the YouTube overlords don't want you to see them. This isn't just a membership, it's a movement. So why keep searching? The path is here. The ascension is now. The link is in the description. They once walked with authority. People listened when they spoke. Their name held weight. Their influence reached far. They commanded attention, dictated the narrative, made decisions that shaped the perception of everyone around them. And for a time, they believed they were untouchable. But power built on fear is not power at all. The illusion has shattered. The moment the truth surfaced, everything shifted. Their allies, gone. Their supporters, silent. The people who once stood by them, now keeping their distance, because nobody wants to be tainted by their downfall. You see it happening. The forced smiles that no longer reach their eyes. The whispers behind their back, the side glances, the conversations that abruptly stop when they walk into the room. The way people no longer rush to defend them. They feel it. The isolation, the shift in tone, the slow, steady collapse of their influence. They used to be the ones pulling the strings. They are the ones being avoided. Nobody wants to be associated with them. Not because of morality, but because they have become a liability. No one wants to stand beside someone whose name is now synonymous with exposure, deception, and disgrace. They thought they could play the game forever, but they never saw the moment when the game would turn against them. And the worst part? It happened so fast. One minute they were respected, the next they were untouchable in the worst way possible. The calls stopped, the invitations disappeared. The same people who once clung to their every word now pretend they don't exist. They never imagined they would fall this far. But this is what happens when power is stolen, not earned. They felt the walls closing in before the first leak hit the surface. They could sense it. The energy had shifted. Something was wrong. People weren't looking at them the same. Conversations stopped when they walked by. The air grew thick with anticipation, like a storm gathering in the distance. And then the first screenshot dropped. A voice recording surfaced, a private conversation exposed. And just like that, their downfall was public. The whispers became headlines. The speculation became confirmation. The rumors became undeniable truth. There was no more control. They had spent so much time shaping their image, manipulating perceptions, ensuring that people only saw what they wanted them to see. But when you're caught in 4K, there is no spin that can erase what people have already seen with their own eyes. The backpedaling began. They scrambled for damage control. Excuses poured out. It was taken out of context. Deflections followed. People are just jealous. Blame was thrown. Someone set them up, but no one was listening. Because the truth had already hit like a tidal wave, and there was no way to stop it. You watch as they desperately try to cover their tracks, deleting old posts, locking accounts, cutting ties with people they once called allies. But it's too late. Screenshots have been saved. Recordings have been backed up. Receipts have been passed around like wildfire. And the more they try to fight it, the deeper they sink. The public isn't fooled. The mask they wore for so long has been ripped away. The fake apologies, transparent. The carefully worded statements, useless. The desperate attempts to redirect attention, laughable. Their reputation isn't just damaged, it's over. They know it. They see the betrayal in the eyes of the people who once defended them. They hear the conversations happening just out of earshot. They feel the weight of being discarded, not because people suddenly found morality, but because no one wants to be associated with a sinking ship. You don't have to say a word, because truth speaks louder than any excuse. And as they scramble, to salvage what little remains, one fact stands tall above all else. There is no coming back from this. But you watched it all unfold. The panic, the scrambling, the desperate attempts to undo what had already been written. And yet, you did nothing. You never had to. While they threw accusations into the wind, hoping something would stick, you remained still. While they reached for excuses, tried to rewrite history, begged for the benefit of the doubt, you said nothing, because the truth was already working in your favor. They wanted you to react. They wanted you angry, emotional, unstable. They wanted you to break character, to lash out, to prove them right. But your silence was louder than their screams. It was proof that they never had power over you. It was confirmation that their downfall was their own doing. They spent so much time plotting against you, assuming you would strike back, assuming you would play the game with them. But you knew something they never understood. Divine justice does not need your interference. It moves on its own. It strikes on its own. It ensures that what is meant to fall will fall without you ever lifting a hand. That is what destroyed them the most. Because while they burned, while their name crumbled, while they watched everything they built collapse under the weight of their own deception, you were unbothered. No statements, no justifications, no desperate need to prove yourself, because you never needed revenge. You never needed to chase justice. You never needed to expose them. The truth did that for you. They expected a war. They expected retaliation. They expected you to stoop to their level, but instead, you stood above it. And now, while they drown in their own consequences, while they lose sleep replaying every mistake, while they beg for a second chance, you move forward, unshaken, unfazed, untouchable, because your silence was the final nail in their coffin. The loudest response is always the one that doesn't need to be spoken, and they felt every second of it. Luke chapter 8 verse 17 declares, "What is done in darkness will be brought to light." In the light has arrived. Every secret they swore would never surface, every betrayal they assumed would stay hidden, every move they made in the shadows, convinced no one would ever know. Exposed. They thought they could rewrite reality. They thought they could control the narrative. They thought their lies would hold power forever. But the universe never lets deception go unpunished. You didn't have to lift a hand. You didn't have to push the truth forward, because truth moves on its own, and it moved straight toward them. One by one, the consequences began to unfold. Financial losses, severed ties, opportunities vanishing like smoke in the wind, everything they built through manipulation crashing down. The same people who once stood beside them, who co-signed their lies, who gave them platforms to spread their deceit. Gone. The doors that once swung open for them, now bolted shut. They never saw it coming, because they were too focused on you. Too focused on watching your every move, too focused on digging into your past, too focused on trying to set traps in your path. But while they were plotting against you, they failed to see the storm heading straight for them. A storm of their own making. You weren't the one who needed protection. They were, because you were never in danger. They were always standing on borrowed ground, pretending their foundation was solid, when in reality, it was nothing but sand. And now, as the waves of truth wash away every lie, they are finally seeing what you knew all along. You never had to fall, because they were the ones destined to collapse. You were always meant to rise. They wanted to see you ruined. They invested so much time, so much effort, so much energy into your downfall. They schemed, they watched, they waited. But what they didn't realize, they were setting themselves up the entire time. Every lie they told, every move they made, every trap they laid at your feet, it all came back to them. The same cameras. They used to monitor you, now hold the proof of their own destruction. The same people they whispered to, now whisper about them. The same power they once held, now crushed beneath the weight of their own deception. You kept rising, unshaken, elevated, unbothered, because divine justice doesn't just restore, it reverses. Everything they planned for you became their own reality. They wanted to see you humiliated. Now they are the ones scrambling for dignity. They wanted to see you stripped of your influence. Now no one takes their word seriously. They wanted you to suffer losses. Now they are losing everything. Because this wasn't just exposure. This was judgment, and you never had to lift a finger. You never had to fight, argue, or justify yourself. Because the truth was always on your side, waiting for the perfect moment to be revealed. Now, let them sit in the wreckage of their own making. You rise, because you were never meant to fall.